Hey, Antelope Valley, welcome to another episode, another great time, another opportunity to learn about our community. With, of course, the leader of the pack, the man who flies with the birds. We're talking about Chris Spiker, the owner of Antelope Valley Florists, peddling them flowers whenever he can. Today, we have a great show planned for you, brought to you by the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce, and it's minding your business.
Right.
And so we're going to learn more about that and learn more about our community with, of course, Danny Bazzell, who's the he does something with Senator Runner. I don't know. We'll find out, right?
We're going to find it. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to have some fun. Jim Greenlee, thank you very much. Great job of introduction.
Oh, it took me 3 weeks to memorize that.
No, you've been doing it all your life. And Kenny, our engineer, thank you for being here.
Yep.
Danny Bazzell, thanks for coming in.
Hey, it's great to be here.
So you wear a lot of hats in the community.
That I do.
But tell us about this group called CIVMIL.
CIVMIL, the Edwards Air Force Base Civilian Military Support Group. We are a local nonprofit. We are in our 26th year here in the Antelope Valley, going on 27 actually. We are the only nonprofit in the Antelope Valley that focuses 100% of our efforts on Edwards Air Force Base. And now Plant 42 since it's been brought into the fold under the Edwards umbrella. So we focus 100% of our time on efforts on improving quality of life issues out at Edwards, but also as a community advocacy group for Edwards when it comes to community support within the Pentagon, Department of Defense, especially related to base realignment closures.
Yeah, we don't worry about the closures until they're announced. And then it's like, oh, we need to do something.
Correct, and that's how the organization got started. In 1988, there was a round of BRAC coming. BRAC's the acronym for Base Realignment and Closure. And the bases throughout the country that were being looked at being closed, the politicians that were on that committee, they were looking to see what bases were obsolete, what bases could be merged with other bases to combine resources into one and save money. The whole idea ultimately was to save money. And it came to pass that as they looked at these bases, those bases that had a very strong community support and community outreach were ones that were looked at a little less closely. You can imagine if you're a base that nobody stands up and says, hey, don't close our base.
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one for them to pick. So in 1988, Aida O'Connor, who is the founder of the organization, she met with the commander of the Air Force Flight Test Center at that time, General Shepner, and they talked about, she went on a tour to another Air Force base back east and was introduced to the concept of a CIVMIL support group. When they came back, and General Shepner asked if Aida would be willing to look at starting up such a group here for Edwards to show the community support for the Edwards Air Force Base.
Hey, what's so important about Edwards? What goes on there?
What goes on there?
What hasn't gone on there?
What hasn't gone on there, exactly. Edwards Air Force Base is the United States' premier flight test center. Every single aircraft in Air Force inventory has been tested at Edwards Air Force
Hey, that's
Base.
history.
That is history.
So are we done?
Nope. Right now, as we speak, there's aircraft being tested out there. There's programs and development going on out there on basically improving the technology to keep the warfighter safe. Nothing goes out into the field, nothing goes into the operational theater without it first having been tested at Edwards to make sure that the product, the gadget, the widget, whatever, the aircraft itself is 100% safe and ready to be flown so that we don't put our pilots in harm's way and we don't put people on the ground in harm's way with a system that doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So every aircraft that gets into the operational theater is tested right here at Edwards Air Force Base when it comes to the Air Force side of things.
How many people are out there working?
Edwards currently employs about 13,000 people. If you look at contractors, the military, the civilians that work at Edwards and Plant 42, it's about 13,000 people a day go through those gates.
A lot of countries out there also. A lot of people testing and...
With the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, we have a large contingent from the Royal Air Force here testing their variant of the F-35. We have people from the Royal Netherlands Air Force. The test pilot school has pilots from other countries come through all the time to go through the curriculum at the test pilot school.
That's neat.
So it's an international community now, not just Air Force personnel, but truly an international group of people working up there.
Out in the middle of the desert.
in the middle of everywhere.
What? Thank you. And what a great place to test.
It is. The R2508 airspace is the crown jewel of the entire complex, as you would maybe call it. R2508 extends all the way out to the Nevada border. It's the largest uninterrupted airspace we have. And so when you're testing an airplane that you want to make sure it flies, you want to make sure it lands, you want to make sure it can maneuver, what a better place to do it than over barren desert. You don't want an airplane taking off over a crowded metropolitan area and find out something goes wrong.
On the eastern seaboard somewhere?
Yeah, over on the eastern seaboard, take off over a river somewhere and have an in-flight emergency, and then now you really have a limited amount of choices where you're going to land that aircraft. You ditch it in the ocean, does the pilot eject and hope the plane hits somewhere where it's not going to hurt somebody? So here at Edwards, they have miles and miles of runway. I cannot remember the exact number of miles. I think 15 miles of runway.
When they were landing the shuttles there, they had 15 miles of runway.
Correct.
It ends right there at Domingo's, I think. And hop out and have
Right
lunch.
there, hop out, go out and get some boron water.
Yeah.
But
How did you get involved with CIVMIL?
long story. Back in, I don't even remember the year, 1994, 1995, I took a job at High Desert Broadcasting working for K-Mix Radio.
Really?
And I had never been in radio advertising before. And so I was kind of struggling, learning the ropes, figuring out how to do the whole radio sales bit. And there was a general sales manager here at the time by the name of Lloyd Haney. And Lloyd kind of took a liking to me, and he brought me aside one day and he said, "Danny," he says, "if you're going to succeed in this business, in this valley, you have to know people. You've got to get out there and network. You can't just go out and do it on your own." So I listened to his advice, and it was definitely good advice. And he said, "I'm going to get you started." And he handed me a piece of paper, and he said, "Fill this out and bring me back a check tomorrow. And I'm going to have you join this group called CIVMIL." And I had never heard of them. And he says, "I think it'd be good for you because I'm an Army veteran." He said, "You know the military, you're probably comfortable with the military lifestyle, so fill it out, bring it back." So I did the next day, and I became a member of the CIVMIL support group at that time, and it's been a great ride ever since.
So anybody can get involved in this group. Anybody that loves the military, understands what the mission is, wants to help them.
That is correct. We don't have an exclusive membership. All applicants do have to be vetted by the board. We obviously want to make sure we have people of good character.
You
good
want to bring
background.
something to the party.
Something to the table, right?
Right.
Plus, we also have to look at it from a security standpoint as well. The CIVMIL group is involved in a lot of activities out at the base, and in the post 9/11 world, security is a big issue. So we have to make sure that people are definitely able to, and like I said, good character, good quality people to go out there and represent the community at the base.
The being involved with CIVMIL allows you to learn a little bit more about Edwards, and perhaps every once in a while to get a tour or to meet the commanding officers.
That is correct. We work not exclusively, but we work very heavily with the senior leadership at Edwards. So we're talking 06, or the level of basically lieutenant colonel and above, so 05 and above. And the leadership is where our core group is, because these are the leaders of our Air Force. So we spend a lot of time out there with, we'll go to mixers, we host social events. We did a social event for the CIVMIL counterpart in Aviano, Italy. They had a group of business owners from the city of Aviano, Italy, where we have a large Air Force presence there. They flew up to Edwards to tour Edwards Air Force Base, and our organization hosted a lunch for them where we got together with the Italians, and we had that cross international borders
That was neat.
network, and that was a lot of fun. We had to have interpreters in most cases, but it was definitely a lot of fun to meet these people that do the exact same thing our organization does, just halfway around the world. And in their case, these are international citizens and business owners that are supporting our U.S. military people, so that was even better.
I don't think there's any other organization that has really reached out to Edwards like this.
Not in the Antelope Valley.
Yeah.
The CIVMIL support group is the only group that really focuses our efforts on Edwards. Now you have the Antelope Valley Board of Trade Aerospace Committee, and you have other organizations that work with the military, but we are the only ones that have that exclusive social networking aspect.
Yeah, you know, they're out of our constituency. They're they're in a different county, and so whose responsibility is Edwards besides the federal government? So I think it's great that there's basically a group of civilian, non-military, retired military, thank you, that reach out and make them feel comfortable.
Correct, and you're right, it's 3 counties. There's San Bernardino County, there's Kern County, and Los Angeles County, all joined together up in Edwards. And when you look at Edwards, it's not just a local thing either. This is the economic impact of Edwards Air Force Base on the Antelope Valley approaches or exceeds $1 billion a year. The payroll alone at Edwards, just for Edwards payroll, is about $500 million a year. You add into that currently $250 to $300 million in contracts that are underway. Add Plant 42 with Northrop Grumman, Lockheed, Boeing, and all the ancillary suppliers, the people here in the valley that supply the aerospace industry. It's a very large economic impact, and one that we don't want to see go away.
We need to remind everybody in Sacramento and DC that we build and test and fly things here, and that needs to continue.
And that is correct.
How do people find you if they want to ask a little bit more about CIVMIL?
We do have a website. It's www.eafbcivmil.org. They can go on there and find out more information about the organization, its history, events. There's a membership application on there as well, or if they just would like to donate to the organization to help us with our Airmen's Emergency Relief Fund. We fund every year for our people out there.
Yeah, thank you. Danny Bazzell with CIVMIL. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You betcha.